This week we're road testing the Mazda CX-30. Hi, I'm David, and Mazda is the second best-selling brand here in Australia. And you wonder why. It's not class-leading, certainly in electrification. Its biggest announcement recently has been another internal combustion engine, a straight six-cylinder. And it's certainly not class-leading in the digitization and, well, almost the bling that you can get in the machine-human interface for the driver. But it is a car and a brand with a solid, almost mature image to it. And I think that by not being full of all the modern bling, you can get into it and drive it without the shock of the new. From the outside, there's little to say about the base model. The headlamps are LED and they have high beam control. The windscreen wipers are rain sensitive and 2-speed function. The great thing about the exterior of the base model is that it does have a rear windscreen wiper. Not uncommon. If you go up to the Touring, the good thing at the front is that you get parking sensors. Down the side, you get advanced keyless entry. The exterior mirror comes with auto dimming, and they also say that it has a reverse tilt down function on the driver's side. Love the function. There's no point on the driver's side. It's the other side that you need, but I think that is just an error in their documentation. The exterior mirrors also have a position memory. Now, the Estina has 18-inch wheels, but these are bright finish. And perhaps the most significant aspect of it is it does have an electric tailgate.
If you value independent journalism or simply enjoyed the video, please support the channel by hitting like and subscribe.
Now, getting in the back, I have the seat right back, and I needed that really to be comfortable. It is an SUV, so I can get my head under, but I've got to say, I'm really fighting for space there. Thank heavens I can put my feet under the front all the way. That goes well, but my knees are right up against that seat, the back of that seat. Perhaps a little disappointing. And in the back, I really only just have vents that I can direct. I don't have any other real controls to it. And of course, as I mentioned, it does have a sunroof, this top spec model, but it's really only in the front, and you can see I'm pretty close to my head here. With the seat forward, that's much better. It does cramp the driver, but now I love the fact that I can get my feet well underneath that. That's really, even though it's an electric seat, very, very critical. This is lovely for being able to throw things in, but you can't get to it. You've got to open it. But of course, you can't open it if it's at the back there, so that's the better. I've got to be right back to open it. So if I move that forward, it won't open. That locks it. So the powertrain, you can get, by the way, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Now, this is the 2.5 litre because it's the up-spec model, but the base model is 2 litres with 114 kilowatts and 200 newton meters of torque. Now, it's not turboed. So that means it gets its power at very high revs. The bigger motor, the 2.5 litre, goes up to 139 kilowatts and 252 newton meters of torque. Not huge. That kilowatts is about average and about right for this type of car. It only has a 6-speed automatic gearbox. Its fuel consumption is rated at 6.3, but if you get the all-wheel drive and go up to the bigger motor, it is rated, and that's a laboratory test, at 6.8. We didn't really get very near to that, but in fairness, this car has averaged about 8.4, and that's in a testing capacity by journalists, so it's possibly a bit unfair to think that it's that high. But certainly it would be above what the laboratory test says. And this only comes with a 6-speed automatic gearbox. By not being turboed, it means that it has to rev very high to get its maximum power, typically around 4,000 to 6,000 revs per minute. But it does get a certain sound to it, and that's part of its zoom, which is not punch-in-the-back performance, but a feel and a sound to it that brings back a few memories of when things were only internal combustion engines. So let's look inside the Mazda. And while there are 5 variants as you step up the ladder to the features they provide, let's have a look at what the base model has. And I think it's quite effective and good in what it provides for the driver without going to great bling that can happen with certain vehicles. And that's part of the character of this car. It's easy to adapt to, but it's also helpful in quite a number of ways. I got comfortable in and out, up and down. For me, I like it up and towards me. It also has a keyless stop-start button. Quite familiar with that now. It does have a number of features that I think are very helpful for the driver. It has a head-up display. And Mazda does work on trying to minimize distraction. So a head-up display in every model. And you do have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, but in the base model, you do need a cable. I will turn it on, but not the engine, just the display. This is the bigger screen for the upmarket models, but the base model is a bit smaller. But it does have a reversing camera, not the aerial shot, 360 degrees, but a reversing camera. It also has satellite navigation, which on the map here I can readily bring up. There are also a few things that help the driver. It has signpost recognition. It has driver attention alert, which isn't too intrusive. I didn't find that it was so frequent and mystifying that can happen that it's a distraction and you turn it off. And there is adaptive cruise control, which are set up on the standard buttons. I'll come to that in a moment. Just to finish here, we do have a storage compartment for your sunglasses, and all models also get Mazda connected services. Now, Mazda Connect, I've used that expression to talk about the human-machine interface, the screens and information that you get. But the connected services, like some other brands, gives you, via a SIM card and their own software, links to the car if you're not here or if you're in need of emergency help. So it can track the car if it's been stolen. It can help you find it if you've parked it and are struggling to know or to remember when. It can also do geofencing, means that you set the boundaries, and if the car goes beyond them, it sends you a message. Perhaps that's important if you're lending the car to somebody. And of course, if there's been an accident that it can detect by the airbag going off or deacceleration forces in general, then it can contact you, and if you answer, it can help you get a tow truck. If you don't answer, it can help get an ambulance. And that's a subscription service, although you get the first 3 years for free. Now, inside, I find the practicality, as I say, is quite good in that sort of old-style way because it has a number of buttons. In fact, you'll notice that the screen is quite a distance, and Mazda discourages you. In fact, in some ways, will stop you using the touch screen when you're driving. Over a certain speed, it turns off, although I believe you can select to do that if you wish, if that's your preference. But it is a stretch. In order to operate, we have some buttons, but we also have a dial. I really like these dials. They allow me to go to a home page and move between choices very distinctly in clear, distinct steps. So if I was up in information and I'd done something, but I look at it and say, no, I want to go to navigation. I do have a button here I can press, or if I don't want to do that, I can say, oh, it's quick look. It's 3 steps down, 1, 2, 3, enter. And up it comes. And once I'm in something like the map, I can zero in and out without having to try and work some buttons. I can do it by dropping my hand and just turning the knob. I do find that comforting, almost, well, not relaxing, but not distressing as you try and do it. The set-out's quite good. It's got some cup holders here, and it's got room for a reasonable bottle in the side, although it doesn't hold it very securely. The temperatures I can turn up and down. Now, the base model doesn't have dual controls, but the next model up does. It also has a volume switch here and little toggle switch for the sport mode on and off. There's not a huge choice. It's either sport or not. It does have a good compartment here, which, by the way, has this open gap in the front. I like it. You can just throw something in. If it's rattling and you're driving, you can do it very quickly. But you need to open it to get into it. Don't try and put your hand in there, and that's fine. Nice, big. But if you have the rear seats folded down with the center headrest in place, it will stop that opening. So if you are carrying a lot of stuff, just to be aware that it's probably best to remove the headrest. Because, as I say, it's not the thing to try and do by reaching in with the door shut. So let's have a look then at some of the options you get as you step up the scale. So the base model is called the Pure, and the next step up is the Evolve. And I think the most significant feature you get there is dual air conditioning in the front, again with lovely simple dials to be able to use. You also get Apple CarPlay without having to put a cable in. It becomes wireless. You get paddles on here, and you get a charger for your phone, a charging pad. I think that's pretty good for the fairly base +1 model. And in the back between the 2 outer seats, you can lower an armrest with some cup holders in it. I remember when I was a young kid, we bought a car, the family did, second-hand, but it had a fold-down armrest in the back. I thought that was just made me sit like I was King Farouk in my chair, my throne. The next move up is somewhat unimaginatively called Touring LE, and I think the real key feature is now that you get this big screen with, put it into reverse, 360-degree view, which I I think is quite helpful. I particularly like, particularly safety when you're in a car park and looking out for people and, again, particularly children that are around you. It also gives you a feature of cruising and traffic support. We'll come to that. Inside for driver and passengers, well, we do get the sunroof. It's not one of those huge, big sunroofs, panoramic ones that seem to be getting more popular now, particularly with Chinese brands. It does illuminate the front, but doesn't do a great deal for removing that locked-in cabin type space in the back. If you're a bit claustrophobic, that might have helped a bit more. It's got the Bose better sound system, 12 speakers, I believe. It's got, apparently this is very important, a frameless rear view mirror. I suppose a bit like glasses, you can make a lot of what's good looking and what's not. It does have a heated steering wheel, but here's one feature that I mentioned that it's surprising that I've got to come this far to get. It's heated seats. Now, it's not cooled seats, and certainly not even massage seats, but just to get heated seats, I've got to come all the way to the top of the variants. And one more thing, particularly for the driver, is the adaptive headlights. That means they respond to the various levels of where they're projecting low to high beam, depending on traffic that's coming towards you. I just mentioned the steering wheel configuration with the switches. They are clearly labelled. These are not generic switches. On the left is sound sources for the radio and such, and the voice and telephone and information buttons. On the right is the traditional cruise control buttons, and they also have a limiter to it so that you can press the accelerator for your heart's content but not go above a certain speed. And by the way, adaptive cruise control, we know that you can set the distance that it will automatically set to the car in front. This is not just a toggle switch to go most down to least and jump back to most. You can go up and down. So if I'm on 2 level, I can go up to 3 or down to 1. Small point, but just means less having to think and concentrate. If I'm happy where I'm at, fine. If I'm a little bit too close, all I have to do is, without looking, is just to click it up once. I will put it into sport mode. Mazda does sell the cars based on zoom. It's not the most powerful engine, not the most torque, and it's not electrified. So it's not as if it's going to give us that huge punch in the back performance. Perhaps its most zoom is the sound when you rev it out. Not too intrusive, but got a little bit of character. Now, it does have, as I've said, signpost recognition, which is good. And we know that it's what the car thinks the speed limit is. And having done that, then the little marks on the dial of the speedo, it will mark the speed limit in red. All the others are in white. Not only will it do that, but if you start to go over what it perceives the speed limit to be, what it will do is it starts creating a small red line from your speed limit up to where the indicator is. So if I were to get too carried away, I would have quite a long red line. I can only emphasize, as I do, that this is what the car thinks the speed limit is. And in situations such as school zones, but out of school time, it may think the speed limit is 40, and it may indicate that you are appearing to break the law when you're not. I've tested it in that situation by not breaking the law, but if you build up are over the speed limit, the symbol for the speed limit in the heads-up display starts gently flashing, not intrusively, and really it's not going to absolutely grab your attention if you're not thinking about it. A little bit of concentration, though, means you're aware of what the dials are doing around you. I've just hopped out of a luxury car, a Genesis, and so perhaps a little unfairly then I did feel that this was a little bit noisy on the road, but perhaps that's quite typical, but particularly noticeable when you're on those Australian roads of not the smooth motorway, but the tar with aggregate rolled into it, a bit what my colleague calls sandpaper roads. With the paddles, I guess you can sort of enjoy a zoom-like experience without going crazy. Change the gears, hear the motor. As we've always said, it's easy to drive, it's easy to get into and not feel overpowered by the shock of the new. If you've driven a car for quite some time and it's got a few years up on it, most new cars have an incredible amount of new technology, some pushing to the stage of being rather bling in their approach. This one is not like that at all. I found, driving around in it, I just got into a rather comfortable mode. There is two options of front-wheel drive, but in the up-spec one to get all-wheel drive with the bigger engine. We're not talking about wanting to go off-road, but we are talking about grip in extreme situations, such as in the wet going uphill. And I discovered, without trying, that I was at traffic lights, I was moving off. They were lights that didn't give you a lot of time, and there had been great congestion, so you are conscious about keeping up with the traffic. I don't think I planted my foot, but I guess I gave it a little bit more than you might normally give it. I'm getting low on fuel. No, I'm getting very low on fuel. It's rated at 6.3 litres per 100 for the base model with the small 2-litre engine. It does move up if you get all-wheel drive and the bigger engine. It's rated at 6.8. It is a car that's in situations of being tested. So perhaps if you use it in its gentle, in its more, I don't have to be a rev head to prove anything style, then you might do better.
Have your own thoughts? We'd love to hear them. Good, bad, or in between. Have a chat with us by dropping a comment below.